Alright, here we go. Video time, guys. Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Counter-Strike with another video, and today I'm going to talk about the game. Alright. So, I've been getting a lot of questions recently on various DMs, Discord, my Twitch chat once in a while about classes in Wizard 101, and like what spells they should get, what pets they should get, how the game is balanced, you know, do I agree with what King's Isle does with all the classes, and basically all the benefits of each class and the disadvantages of each class. So, I can't say new so I can show you all the classes, but the classes are Ice, Storm, Myth, Life, Death, Balance, and Fire. Those are all the classes of the game. I think I counted all 7 there. And, each class has a benefit and a disbenefit, right? So we're going to go over one class at a time, and I'm just going to go over, basically, all my wizards, and I'll do balance last, because, you know, why not? So, this is, Ice Wizard, right? So, Ice. Ice is that school that's supposed to be for tanking, right? So, in Ice, basically, you have the most health in the game. Highest health in the game, definitely. No doubt. The health can reach about almost 9,000. Almost about at this level. 130, 8.7, 9k. Ice is really good for defense capabilities, and that's basically what they're for PvP. PvE, Ice can do jading. Ice Jade is sort of a joke nowadays though, because Death Jade is better, but Ice can Jade if you have the right stuff. Personally, I did Ice Jade because I would rather have a Storm than an Ice Wizard in any given instance for that type of reason. But Ice is really good for PvP. Like any level, I think, honestly. Like, Ice is just one of those schools that if you want to have the most amount of health and defense, then Ice is the way to choose. So, I'm going to talk about the balance of Ice. And I know Ice was my first main character, but I'm still going to rip Ice because Ice needs a nerf. And let me explain why Ice needs a nerf, right? So, let me switch over to my Ice gear here. I don't have my actual gear set up here. But for another instance, right, I have multiple sets here I can show you guys, right? So, this is my party set. I named it party set because this is the set where Ice can reach 10k, right? So, yes, Ice can reach 10k health now with, you know, easily with 130 gear. So, that's kind of funny, right, to say that Ice can reach that much health. Anyways, let me switch over to my attacking set here, and I'll show you what I mean by Ice needs kind of a nerf here. I'll use this example, I guess. Let's see, my stats are... Ayo, good, okay. Let me switch to Moon Smasher, and let me switch to... I think the boots are wrong. Well, no, boots are good. Boots are good, right? Yeah. Okay, so let me explain, like, Ice in general, right? Equip this. Alright, good. Okay, I got my Ice stuff set up now. This is what I want. Okay, so Ice having the most health in the game, like I told you guys earlier. Ice's weakness supposedly is supposed to be that Ice is supposed to be the weakest school in the game. Now, the attack-wise, Ice is the weakest school in the game, being attacks are a little bit less than some schools, but also some attacks of Ice are actually stronger than other schools, like for instance Death. Death's a little weaker than usual, but so for Ice, it's supposed to be the weakest school in the game. For my damage setup, for my Ice Wizard, I have a lot of damage for Ice with almost 60 resist flat across the board, right? With basically OP stats for Ice, right? So in my opinion, Ice's stats are a little bit overwhelming, in my opinion. Really overwhelming, right? Let's talk about spells real quick. So for an Ice Wizard, you want to build, for PvP, not PvP, sorry, but for PvE, you want to build sort of a, maybe support Ice if you want to support. If you're going to be an attack Ice, chances are people are not going to like you very much. This is sadly what happens with Ice. You know, Ice's spells, attack all, are okay. They're not the best. I would rather take a Death Lulu than an Ice, like, Penguin or something at this level of the game, right? How an Ice is. So, for Ice, for stats, not for stats, but for spells, they have a decent amount of spells, um, decent amount of utility. In my opinion, Ice has a wide variety of spells, but there's some spells that need to be changed dramatically, right? For PvP specifically. For PvE, these are fine, right? Most spells in each and every single game are fine for PvE, regardless of what they are, right? Nothing is overpowered in PvE for spells. But let's talk about PvP, right? Well, let's talk about PvP for Ice. Why Ice is such a monster in PvP. So there's only one reason why Ice is powerful for PvP, right? It's because they have high damage and they have this spell here. So this spell was released a long time ago. This was released when Darkmoor was out. And if you could read that correctly, that says 950 through 1150 damage and a negative 75% shield, right? So you may be wondering, oh, so if I cast a spell, I actually get a 75 shield after? Yes, you do. Now, this was King Zhao's way of kind of giving Ice an overpowered spell, but not doing anything about it after, because to this day, I believe, in my opinion, that this spell is one of the most powerful spells in the game because of the 75 shield. Nowadays, people will have about 40 something pierce, but the 75 shield can still save your ass a lot if you have, for instance, a Fortify on, or a Brace on, for instance, right? So, with that on, and the 75 shield, you'll be surviving a lot of encounters. And with how broken Shadow Pip distribution is sometimes, you're going to be getting Shadow Pips a lot. So basically, Ice can just spam that spell, right? Now, the downside of Ice is that their spells are weak. Like, no doubt, their spells are weak. Like, this spell does, like, only 100 damage more than the 10 pip spell. They have the weakest damage spells. Like, the single hit spells, they're the weakest. They're just the weakest, okay? You can't tell me they're strong, because no, they're the absolutely weakest. But with their massive health and their massive defense, right, and spells that give them shields and whatever, right, they can survive a lot of hits. So people complain about Ice. Reason why? Why is Ice so powerful PvP? It's not fair. I'm going against an Ice Wizard. Why do people complain? Because you have to legitimately spam an Ice down. You have to attack him a lot, over and over again, to kill him, because he has so much health. He has so much, like, tanking ability. It's ridiculous. So what I think they should do to 130 Ice, right? So if you guys didn't hear the rumors that they're gonna change 130, they're gonna but they're gonna add a new dungeon, hopefully, for 130 Wizards, and give us like a Darkmoor like themed dungeon for 130 gear. So what they need to do with Ice, right? So for the gear set so far, right, Ice is good where it is. In my opinion, if they're gonna give us 130 gear, just make the stats a little bit more powerful. Just like maybe 1 or 2 extra damage, or maybe like 1 extra resist. Don't overpower Ice more. Don't give them like 20 resist on a robe or something like obnoxious like that. Just give them, like, if you want to update the game for 130, okay, give them like 1 or 2 of each stat. You know, something little low that it won't be overpowered. For instance, these boots are powerful, right? These 130 boots are powerful. Like, this is ridiculous. Imagine the weakest school in the game getting 30 damage on boots at 130. 30 damage. 30 damage. That's a lot of damage for an Ice. Okay? Because the highest we ever got was this, which was 25. And then, where's the other thing? Where are the other boots? I have them somewhere. Yeah, like these boots give 20. They give 10 less, but these come from packs, right? So, in my opinion, 30 damage on boots is ridiculous, you know? And the Darkmoor gear, right, gives like 15 less than that. Like, imagine, from 30 levels up, you go from 13 damage to 30. Right? It's a lot of damage for an Ice. In my opinion, 30 is way too much damage. But you know what? I digress. You know, having, I guess, plus 110 damage on an Ice is way too little. You know, you need more damage because the spells are weak, right? So what I think they should do is not increase damage that much. If they're gonna just give them stats, like to boost, just boost their health. Maybe boost their power pip chance a little bit. Boost maybe 1 or 2 resist, but don't give them so much power that they're going to be a threat, you know? They're already a threat in PvP in general, because look, I even have the Commander Robe. I got that in Arc Age 2 when Ice was level 100, right? When my Ice was level 100, I got it then. I haven't done PvP now, but it's pretty powerful what I see in Ice. So, for Ice, what I think they should do is they should just not touch them. Maybe change a little bit of stats here and there, but Ice is fine where it is. It doesn't need a buff at all. Nerf a little bit. So, like, for instance, if they nerf this spell down, it's good and bad. Good, Ice is gonna be a little bit weaker. People are gonna be pissed if it's nerfed, from 75 to like 60 or something like that, but man, 75 is a big shield, bro. I know you can easily get rid of that with like a DOT spell, but if you plan it right with Abominals, you can survive a lot, you know? So that's my thought on Ice. For training points for Ice, if you're going to go Jade Ice, spend up to Faint, like I have here. I spent up to Faint. For Life, I went up to Satyr. And then Balance, I just got my Elemental Trap. I got Reshuffle. And then for Shadow, I got most of the Shadow spells. For Troll, I really didn't really care. Shadow Strike's your best friend. Make sure you buy this, because you get this for free. Make sure you buy this. You gotta buy this for all your classes, okay? And then, don't buy anything for Myth. Don't buy anything for Ice. Don't buy anything for Fire. Sorry, no, don't buy anything for Fire, Storm, or Myth here. And yeah, that's basically training point distribution. I think that's all I have to say about Ice. I don't want to spend too much time on Ice, because I know Ice is my favorite school, but it needs a little bit of a nerf. Little bit. A little bit of a nerf, right? Just a tiny bit. Maybe not an overpowered nerf, just a little tiny bit, so they kind of get dumbed down a little bit. The health, the defense is just way too much, in my opinion, for any school, like Fire to deal with. Alright, I'm going to go on the next school, and I'm going to go talk about Myth next. Actually, should I just go down the list? Yeah, okay, I'll go down the list. So, Ice, Fire, okay. Yo, thanks for the follow, man. So, I'm going to talk about Fire next. So, my Fire isn't max, but I'll talk about Fire here. So, I have Fire friends, too, I can show you on my account. Okay, so, Fire is one of those schools that have been receiving a lot of flack recently, and for having too much damage. Now, Fire needs it. Before you guys say, oh, Fire is a bad school, or Fire is too powerful because they got the extra damage, right? So, I'm going to go and show you my friend here, right? So, this is not his damage setup, but with the damage setup, he get 160 damage for Fire. So, out of the whole game, the most amount of flat damage, well, percentage damage you can get for Fire, basically, the classic is the most damage is Fire, right? The reason why King's Isle did this was because Storm was way more powerful than Fire. People would choose Storm over Fire any day, right? And the reason why they did this was because Fire, they wanted Fire to be relevant in some sort of fielded aspect, right? So they gave Fire the most amount of damage. Now they don't crit as much, but they gave Fire the most amount of damage. So I'm gonna look at like the stats of my friend's Fire here to show you guys what I mean. So these boots right here, right, are the most amount of damage like I've ever seen on a piece of gear ever, right? These boots have 36 damage, which is a lot of damage, right? No other school goes up that high. And the helmet gives 30. The helmet basically gives 30, like the Ice gives 30's boots. So the reason why they did this for Fire, right, is because their spells kind of are lackluster. So I don't have Raging Bull on this account, but if we look at the Fire spells that I have on right here, Fire spells are in the medium range for damage, not bad. Fire from Above does a lot of damage, it's pretty cool. But Bull does like 1,100 damage, right, when enchanted. And only gives a 25 weakness, which actually is weaker than Sirens from Storm. And this is what my friend's been complaining about a lot, is that Fire is supposed to rely on this thing called damage over time, right? And the only thing I've seen useful for damage over time is the final boss of Imperia, Part 2. The Storm Titan is where you could use DOT well. You know what I mean? DOT is one of those things where you don't want to use it because it's over time and you're going to have to put more feints on it. It's just more work. It's easier just to do a single hit, right? So Fire, in my opinion, is one of those who's like a shafted hard from Bull being nerfed when it first came out and not seeing any spotlight. Recently, Fire's been getting more spotlight though. They've been secretly adding in some things in here to buff Fire, which was needed. So, for instance, they added Burning Rampage, which made basically low-level PvP evolving around this spell. Like, legitimately level 10 PvP is ridiculous with Burning Rampage. You just Burning Rampage into Beetle and you win. Or Burning Rampage into Fire Elf, you win. You know what I mean? So, Fire's been getting some love from King's Isle. They've been buffing him. They've been basically buffing Fire for the past couple updates now. So, other than that, for training points for Fire, just get normal stuff, I guess. If you're gonna Jade Fire, which I don't see a lot of people doing, you can get Life and Death. If you want to get Faint on your Fire, you can. It's up to you. Balance, I just get the elemental stuff, and I just get like simple star spells really, and then strike, obviously, right? And for ice, you'd want to go up to Tower Shield for every single school. You need the spell for every single school. I don't care what school you are, you're getting this spell, alright? So spend your fire training points on this. You gotta get Tower Shield. This will save your ass. But other than that, fire is interesting, right? I still like fire. Personally, I think fire is awesome because of the damage they have. I just wish their spells were a little bit more powerful. So if they're gonna buff fire, maybe if they have release a 130 spell, which I don't see them doing, but if they do, make fires a little bit more powerful. Their tree is the best. So their 130 spell is the best. The tree, the fire tree, is the best out of all the new trees. But I'm not gonna talk about the fire tree. That's like end game stuff. But for general, if fire does a little bit more damage, like for bull and whatnot, then I'll be fine. So that's fire. What's next? Storm? Yeah, Storm's next, huh? Alright, Storm. Alright, let me talk about Storm real quick. So, let's talk about Storm. So, Storm is the attacking school. Yeah, that's the goal. That's what Kingzao wanted. Because if they gave damage and crit used to go to Storm, right? Now it's crit for Storm, damage for Fire. The reason why they did that is because they wanted to difference the two so it's even out. You know, it evens out. Not really, though. Because I'm going to explain why Storm is still better than Fire, right? So, I'm going to tell you why Storm is better than Fire now. And what Storm needs is a nerf. Alright? Now, before you guys complain to me saying that Storm does not need a nerf at all, you know, blah, blah, blah. Let me talk about this, right? So, the other 130 gear is coming out soon. We hope so. These are the damage, right, the spells do for Storm. As you can see, Sirens does 100 damage more than Bull when enchanted. It's 9 pips. Enough said. This is better than the Fire than 108 spell, which is saying a lot about this game, where the balancing lies. You know what I mean? This spell, Glow Bug, is still the most spammed spell in the game. Alright? So, I'm just saying, Storm is powerful. Their spells are so powerful, even that little damage, like maybe that 5 or 10 damage that Storm can't get, that Fire can, doesn't matter. Because Storm has the most powerful spells in the game. Now, their weak side is health. They don't have a lot of health. They do this for a reason. Glass Cannon, right? So, it's a Glass Cannon school. Okay. For PvP, Storm is balanced. Alright, I don't think there's anything I'll change for PvP for Storm because you can easily kill a Storm and a Storm can easily kill you. Because Storm has a lot of damage and crit and pierce. You know what I mean? So it's even. For PvE, it's different because PvE, Storm is relied on heavily, right? Storm is the most, I think, in my opinion, most relied school in the game because anyone would rather take a Storm than a Fire anytime. I would take a Storm rather than Fire, depending on their damage and their spells, right? So, I'm going to talk about gear, right? And I want to explain this heavily, right? How 130 gear doesn't... And how 130 gear is probably not going to change what Storm usually wears. And there's a reason for this, right? So, when Kingzao released their 125 gear, not 125 gear, the level 100 gear to the world, right? Storm has still yet to really change most of what they wore from level 100. Including the robe. And I was going to explain about the robe. The hat and boots are optional. You can change that out with like the 130 Paradox gear. But the robe, I'm going to explain why it's overpowered. So, before I highlight over the stats, let me explain the spells, right? So the spell is 70%. Most spells are 70%. Some of the shadow pips are 65. It's 5% extra. Who cares, right? So let's look at this, right? Because so Storm is supposed to fizzle a lot. That's another weakness Storm is supposed to have. They're supposed to fizzle a lot, right? So, think in your head, 70% is what the Storm base accuracy is. The problem with this robe is that this is the most powerful robe in the game. Why? This robe gives 25 accuracy, which basically brings your base accuracy from 70 to 95%. You know what that means? You can have gear that give you 100% without putting an accuracy jewel on any of your extra stuff. So for instance, you don't need an accuracy jewel here. You don't need an accuracy jewel here, and you still have 100%. So the reason why I haven't took my cloak off is because Kingzao has not released a better cloak than this for a Storm. For this reason. because of how much accuracy it gives. It gives still 14 resist too, which is a lot for Storm, right? So Storm is supposed to have like low resist and whatnot, but look, 25 accuracy, right? So it kind of worries me that this is still the way it is, because I'm feeling afraid that they're not going to change anything with Storm at 130, right? So if they're going to make the gear better, I don't think they will for Storm. Again, like, Storm is going to get shafted again, like an 80th time in a row, you know, like they have been recently. Like, the side dungeons, right, the Houseling Gauntlets, the gear was actually worse than this. Like, a lot worse. If I have the other robe, I'll show you. Unless I got rid of it. I got rid of it. Yeah, I got rid of it. But the Rattlebones robe, right? The Rattlebones robe came with like 10 less accuracy. So, and then the 130 robe is a little bit worse than that. So, this is powerful, right? Now, what would I nerf about Storm? It's actually not their spells. I would keep their spells the same. All I care about is what they nerf is Wild Bolt and Insane Bolt. That's it. The percents are way too high. So for instance, Insane Bolt is 70%, it hits the enemy, and 30% it hits you. Maybe 60-40 would be better than 70-30, right? Because in PvP, people spam this shit, and it always hits me, and it pisses me off, right? Now, I don't know what the percent of Wild Bolt is, but I feel like it hits more at the end than the first two, right? So I feel like it's like 20, 40, 40 or something, because like, the chances of it hitting low is really low, in my opinion. Like, the way I've tested it before. Like, me and my friends did testing before, way back in the past, and what we did 20 Wild Bolts, right? 2 hit low, it was 8 hits medium, and then 10 hit high. So that shows, like, what the majority percent is. Maybe change the percents a bit, but other than else, I don't want to change anything for Storm, honestly. Storm has the most annoying spells in the game, yes, to get attacked by. You know, no blades, no blades, no blades. You know, gets rid of your blades for days, you know. Stun, it only has 1 stun, so you don't have to worry about that much. But yeah, no blades, no blades, no blades. That's all I would change to Storm was be the Wild Bolt and the Insane Bolt. Now for spells, don't worry about that Death Shield, that was just a troll. Obviously the elemental stuff, get Shadow Strike. Shadow Strike comes with you for free, obviously. Get your enchants, and get Galantic Field. Potent Trap and Sharp Blade works well here. For ice, up to Tower Shield, obviously. And then nothing else after that. I don't know why I bought some stuff on my life. I think I bought up to get the Legion Shield, I think. That's probably what I did. But, yeah. Those simple spells, right? So, Storm, I would really recommend to people that, loves to attack. This class is great. As you can see earlier, I was questing through the final world of the game, just destroying everything in my path. Myth. Gotta drink coffee. Okay, Myth time. And I'm gonna talk about Myth a lot, right? And hands down, the most unplayed school in the game is Myth in general. It's the most unplayed school, and everybody just, for some reason, hates Myth, right? All the time when I go on the Wizard 101 subreddit, people bully Myth and say Myth is garbage, right? But out of the spiritual schools, being Myth, Life, and Death, Myth is actually the strongest out of the spiritual schools. So I'm going to go my Myth and talk about Myth for a little bit. And Myth needs a buff, and needs a change, a big change, in order for Myth to be relevant, right? So, I chose Myth because I hate when people say that a class is bad, so me being me, I'm going to pick a bad class, right? And now, Myth is not a bad class, per se, right? Myth has its advantages and disadvantages. The problem is, with Myth, right, they decided that their Myth's perk, right, is going to be, hold on, let me get my damage set up here so I can show you, like, my damage and whatnot, so I can show you this stuff. Is this even the right hat? It is. Alright, it looks good so far. Let me just change all my stats so I can show you the end damage and whatnot. Alright, cool. Let me get my other damage pet on. But yeah, Myth has the most damage out of the spiritual schools. But let's talk about Myth. So, Myth's benefit, right? Myth's benefit is minions. Supposedly minions. Now, I'm gonna stop the music because I'm gonna explain this like in not graphic detail, but I'm gonna explain this like right now, right? I'm gonna tell you why people hate Myth, right? Minions are supposed to be Myth's benefit. The problem is you can't control minions, and minions actually ruin the fight instead of helping you in some instances at the higher levels. Lower levels, they can help a little bit, but higher levels, minions are not helpful at all. Like if you have a feint, that minion can just pop that feint right off and ruin your perfect hit. You know what I mean? So Wizard 101, KingsIsle needs to do something about this. One, someone suggested that they made the minions controllable, like you control the minions. They sadly said they can't do that. Okay, that's not gonna happen. Another thing is what I thought of an idea of is that you can suggest something to the minion, suggest it what to do. You know, not control it, but suggest, oh, you attack here or you go here. If they really want to keep minions in the game. If they can't do that, then they need to get rid of minions entirely for Myth. Just don't make them their main thing anymore, right? As you can see, they didn't really do much minions after Talos, right? The only other minion is the Baba Yaga one. And other than that, that's it, right? So, Myth needs a buff, majorly. And it's not a buff in damage, a buff in stats. They need a card change. They need a card change, right? So, what do I mean by card change, right? So, they need to make Myth reliable on something else that's not minions. Because their perk is basically useless, which sucks, right? Stance for minions, defensive and offensive, or have like a stance, yeah, so they can either attack or just defend. That's a good idea. I like that idea too. But yeah, so they need to change minions up badly. So the owner of KingsIsle, well, not owner of KingsIsle, but the game developer at KingsIsle asked in the Twitter poll, what should Myth have? And they were talking about adding the next Myth spell to the game, and they were saying Myth Heal, Myth X spell that does damage per pip, or like a minion spell, right? And people chose Myth Heal, which would be interesting to see. But Myth is the school nowadays where it's interesting, where different stuff happens. People call it a bitch because of their spells, right? For instance, some of their spells does something that pisses off people. For instance, Basilisk does overtime and also stuns. Celestial Calendar steals a pip. Medusa stun for 2 rounds. King Artorias has the highest DOT ever in the game. The tree does double damage if you stun block yourself 3 times. Mystic Colossus removes all shields. So, and Earthquake removes blades and shields from all enemies. So, and Shatter removes all shields. So, Myth is like that school where it's like in between everything, and it's interesting to play, right? I love Myth personally. Myth is one of my favorite schools. Because I like the interesting thing of it, but they really need to change minions, like now. They need to change what they do, or they need to add something that Myth can come back from. Because Myth is the least playing school in the game because of the minion stance, right? People always pull the minion card because people say minions suck, which they do. I give them credit for that. Now for damage-wise, your spells are the 3rd top tier. So under Storm, Fire, it'll be Myth right below Fire. They do have decent damage spells. They do a lot of stuff, right? Debuffer, that could work. That's a good idea, have Myth be the debuffer. But for PvE standpoint, Myth would rather be... People would rather pick a Storm out of a Myth. But Myth can be powerful too. For instance, look at my damage, right? It can basically reach Storm level damage. My Myth can reach Storm level damage easily. So Myth is no pushover, right? Myth has a lot of potential. They just need to change Myth a little bit. They need to change it up. For spells, get up to Tower Shield, balance stuff, obviously. Elemental Spirit, I got Elemental because of, being with people. I just get, like, normal spells and Strike. So, same, like, points you should use and whatnot, but, Myth has a lot of potential, right? Because their boosts have, like, 32, they're 23, 27. Myth is the in-between school, but still really powerful, So, people need to stop talking shit about Myth because they get freaking earthquaked all the time or stunned all the time, right? Myth is like the interesting school. It's like the in-between school with a bunch of different mechanics. It's like that school where they threw all these different mechanics in, and they haven't completed it yet. They haven't put the two pieces together and said, hey, this is what's gonna be. Okay, so this is Myth. Now, I still have to talk about death, life, and balance, and the game balance. So, I actually have to eat dinner. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pause the stream, pause the video, and then when I come back, I'll talk about the rest of it. Okay? So, I'll be right back, guys. I won't take long. I just gotta bring it upstairs. So, I'll be right back. And now we're gonna talk about death, life, and balance, and also the balance of the game. Whew. Okay. So, death. Death is an interesting school, right? Death's had its ups and downs, but most arguably, Death is the best support character for PvE or PvP, in my opinion, ever. Now, let me say why. People may say life is better than Death, right? Well, let's look at Death's kit. They have Dark Pat, they have Curse, they have Faint, they have Plague, they have Bad Juju, they have Beguile, they have Virulent Plague, they have Mass Infection, they have Sacrifice, they have a lot of stuff. A lot of good stuff, right? So, Death is really good for jading, right? As you can see, my setup, and John changed all my stats up. He doesn't know. Oh, that's why. He didn't even equip my pet on. I don't have my other pet, because it's on my other wizard. Alright, I'll put that on for now, just for a test, right? So, this is my Jade setup, right? Well, not my JJ setup, but this is like a general Jade setup, right? And Death does a really good job at jading. And the reason why is because they have all these weaknesses and heals that they can do, and also with the Life Mastery, they can pack a punch with heals and whatnot. Sadly though, I would rather only have a Death jading, right? Their attacks are kind of okay. They're kind of weak. Like, this does less than the Ice one. Like, most of their spells actually do a lot less than Ice. Like, look at this. This is a weak tree. This is the weakest tree. But, wait, hold on. I'm not saying anything yet. Hold your horses. The reason why Death is better than Ice, in some reason, is because they can get their health back. So, this is why, for soloing the game, Death is the best class to do it with. So, as you can see, Death has a lot of attack and swap half the health of damage you do to yourself. So you know what? You're fine, right? Death's weakness of damage gets replaced by the fact that you get your health back with most of these spells. I just wish their attacks that don't give health did a little bit more damage. Like Wing Sorrow, let's make that do a little bit more damage. You know what I mean? Just a tiny bit more. Like Lulu, I wish Lulu was back to 1,100 because that was powerful. That was really powerful when this was 1,100, But Death is the best support character, like hands down. Now, for PvP, they were really good at jading and spamming this spell called Bad Juju. Sadly, KingsIsle nerfed it. So now you lose 25% of your health when you cast this in PvP. Now, I'm glad they didn't do this for PvP and PvE, because if this happened in PvE, I would be pissed. But thank God it doesn't, right? So for PvP, it does it, which kind of sucks. But the way you can negate this, I guess, is by having... Actually, no, you can't negate this, right? So you can't have immunity and do this, because it actually goes through all your resist, regardless of how much resist you have. So it kind of sucks that they did that. They took away Death's best spell for PvP, is Bad Juju. They took it away. So basically, Deaths are good in 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s. They're good for Virulent Plague spam, being Jade. They're good at healing, sacrifice. They're good at getting health back from enemies, right? They're really good at this. So like, if you don't want to quest with anyone else and you want to be alone, Death is really good at this a lot. Now, what would I change about Death? I would give them more damage, personally, on their stats. So, I don't have, like, a damage set up yet, because I just do Jade Death a lot. So, let's see. Let me put these boots on, right? Let me put the 120 boots on here. Let's slap some damage on this stuff. Let me slap on my, where are you? don't have a good pad for death either, so you gotta give me some crap. So I don't have per se the best death out there, but like damage is not that bad. Death's got a decent amount of damage when maxed out. You know, they got a decent amount. Their crit needs a little bit of work, I think. Like that's really low crit actually. Now that I think about it, that's really effing low crit. Haha. But you know what I'm trying to say, right? Death's got like an even playing field. I just wish Death's damage did a little bit more, right? Give Death a little bit more damage. Give their spells a little bit more of a buff, and maybe with their gear, make their gear a little bit more powerful and damage and crit, and they'll be fine. Death will be good again. You know, if they made the attacks over time, not attacks over time, but if they made their these spells do more, like Tree being 975 is kind of redundant. Make it 1000, please. Just make it 1000 or something, bro. Like, this is like the weakest tree for damage-wise because it gives health back. Come on, like, it does ×2 if you have 33% health. But like, it's like you would use this if you were about to die, and you could save pips if you like use Cthulhu or something and get more health back. You know, I just think that the tree needs to change the tree. But other than that, that's good. For my death, I went Jade Death, so I have a lot of support spells. Basically, my training points go to only support. Now, you wouldn't want to get Satyr. I didn't do any of the quests from Zeke yet on my death, so I don't have any training points. But I'll do that eventually, okay? So, personally, Death needs a little bit of a buff for damage and overall. But other than that, Death's good for jading and for support. Death's really good at that. I admit Death is weak, being that like it's a weak class. I'm just saying the damage is weaker than most other schools because of the health back, because of that powerful ability. But if they do a little bit more buffing, it would be more relevant, right? I think Death has a really good spot in the top like 3 wizards if they just buffed a little bit more of them, right? So Death needs a buff, hands down needs a buff. After that Juju nerf, they need a buff. Like they need a buff. Okay. Life. I'm not gonna go my life because my life's level 51. The chat made my life wizard. That video will be coming out soon. I'm still working on that. I'm gonna edit that maybe sometime. Actually put some effort into this one, in that video. But this video, I'm not gonna really edit much. I'm just gonna post it as it is with 2 parts. So this video can come out. It's about 40 minutes long. I don't have time to edit 40 minutes of content, really. So life is good for jading. Obviously, they have the second highest health in the game, and life is really good for another support school that you can do, right? For attacking, life is really good. They got some good utility spells, but what life really needs, the chat did a great job on her. Yes, they did. I know you were there with it. But what life needs really badly, what they need a buff, right? And I'm praying to the gods that this comes out soon, is that life needs an actual attacking spell. Okay? Their last attacking spell, right, was Spiny Sword. That's actually good. And obviously their 4-pip spell that's still out there people use, right? Since then, it's just been a disappointment. The tree is a disappointment. The tree only heals. Wings of Fate? Not Wings of Fate. I think it's called Wings of Fate. No, the Polaris spell is a joke. Their Polaris spell is an utmost joke. And their only attack all spell is Forest Lord. Alright. Next update, they need to give life another attack all spell. Please! An attack all spell, please. Not a healing spell, an attack all spell, please. And then I'll be okay with it. But other than that, life is good. Life's got a lot of health, a lot of resist, still. Forest Lord, Forest Lore, I know. It's the only thing they have is Forest Lore. Forest Lord, you know? It sucks, you know? But other than that, they're really good healers. They take jading really well because they don't have to use a life mastery. They can use 6 resist accuracy amulet instead. So they're really good at healing, obviously, and they're really good at that department of keeping people alive, right? Give Leaf Storm. That's a good idea. You know what? Maybe they should just give Leaf Storm as a learnable spell for life. Make him learn it. Even if it's from a skeleton key boss that drops it, make him learn Leaf Storm, right? Because their learnable spells is like this fairy one with like a unicorn or something, Sacred Charge, and it's okay. It's not as good as Storm's learnable spell. But make them learn Leaf Storm, so they at least have another attack overall, or something, you know? They need more attack they need, like, more attack spells that attack all enemies. You know, it sucks that they did this to life. They shafted life here. And they shafted life with the tree. Because, like, for real, right? Just a healing tree, you can heal more with Pigsy. 4 pips, easy, boom. 2 Pigsies with J set up, heals a whole team up with crit. Like, 1 Pigsy crit can do 4k heal to all allies. So I don't see the point of the tree, in my opinion, right? The trees could be really good if you don't have, like, a lot of healing, but I don't know. Life got shafted with the damage department. Now, they do have good craftable spells. They do have, Weaver, which does negative 25, which is really good for PvP. Life is actually also, but life for PvE, that's just life for PvE though. They need a buff in that department, but for PvP, I think life is the 3rd most powerful skill for PvP, and let me tell you why, right? So, I don't have a spell in my life, but my death has it on a wand, so I'm going to show you why life is broken, right? Okay. Let me explain why. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, because, you know what, level 58, that's a long way to go without an attack all spell, you know? Let me explain to you why life is powerful in PvP, because they have this, right? Hold on, where the hell is the card? They have Guardian Spirit. Now you may be wondering what the fuck Guardian Spirit is, right? Guardian Spirit is a little spell you put on yourself to resurrect you when you die, with about 20% healing, 40% if you crit. Now, for PvP, that's a little broken, right? Because if you have high crit on a life, you're gonna crit that right away, right? So if you die, you come back. You know what I mean? Now, you're all weak. You could have 1 pip, and you could get, like, clobbered a second time after you get rezzed, but it's still kind of powerful. Like, that's really powerful. That's what life going for them. That's why I hope they don't get rid of that spell. That's what life has. Alright? Like, I don't, as me going, like, as an ice going against life, I hate it, but, like, if they get rid of that spell, life is just not going to benefit from it. Now, another thing life is good at PvP in is their heals, right? If they're getting weak, just pop a Seder crit, you're full health again. You know? So, life is one of the better schools for PvP for max level, in my opinion. For max level, life is really, really good. So that's what their benefit is, in my opinion, right? Because of that. And they also still have a lot of health. I think they can reach 8k now with the 130 gear. I do not know. Don't quote me on that, but I think they can. And they still have a lot of resist, like ice. Not as much as ice, but they still have a lot of it. And life is a really good school for PvP. But for PvE, they're lacking, bro. All they gotta do is heal in PvE, man. I don't want to see life attacking. They're only healing me, okay? So, what they should do with life, change up the PvE kit a little bit more, maybe give them an attack all spell earlier on. Like, all these schools get an attack spell really quickly. Like, Storm gets Tempest, right, as an attack all spell. Myth gets Frog at 22. They get Fireball at 22 for fire. Ice gets Blizzard really quickly. Death gets, Deer Knight, right? Also, Death, okay, so Death's also another school that doesn't get, an attack all spell until really late. Like, they get I think their first one level 48, I think, if I remember correctly. But they can get Deer Knight earlier, right? They can craft Deer Knight, or they can get it from a pack, or they can farm more for it earlier and get an attack all spell. They get Deer Knight, right? And they also, Death also got one of the best 4-pip spells in the game called, Headless Horseman. Really good spell. Grab that if you're a Death. But, Life, they don't get an attack all spell till level 58. They need an attack all spell earlier. So, I like the Leaf Storm idea. It's a really good idea. Because Balance gets Sandstorm too, you know? Now Balance, I don't have a Balance Wizard, but I guess I can show a Balance Wizard, and I'm going to use Puppylove's Wizard for this. Shout out to Puppylove. Subscribe to her, or follow her on Twitch if you haven't already. She'll be streaming tonight. So I'm gonna like look at her Wizard and stuff and comment about it. So, this is not her updated stats, I don't think. Oh no, it is. Okay, good. So, let's talk about this. So, Balance has, is one of those schools that's, like, kind of controversial because of a spell called Lore Master, right? So, Balance gets Sandstorm level 16. Yes, they do. Really good. Really good. So, Balance is okay for PvE. They do a lot of support. They have a lot of blades that they use. I just wish that the Balance tree was better, and Balance also sucks for soloing. Reason why? The reason why Balance sucks for soloing is because they don't have a balance convert. And I was thinking about this on my way to school. I'm like, what if they added a balanced convert to the game so they can be more soloable, right? So my idea for a balanced convert would be, instead of the boost being 80% like most elements are, right? If they're gonna do a convert, right, you should be able to pick out of the 3 spiritual schools what one you want to boost to, but the boost only be maybe like 30% or 25%, something weaker so it's not overpowered. But balance against a balanced boss sucks because they have 80 resist to balance, but they have nothing to convert to. And this is why balance needs a balance, a balance thing, so they can change it from balance to something else. And that's why we need it, and they haven't added it yet. They need to add that for balance. Other than that, PvE, I wouldn't complain about that. They're really good supports. They give lots of blades to help people attack. Not complaining about that. Now, PvP. Huh. Out of all the schools in the game, balance is the most, in my opinion, OP school in the game, other than Ice. And why should I say this? Why am I saying that balance is really good compared to Ice, right? The reason why is because balance has spells, right? They have good spells that you can use for PvP. They have Lore Master. They have get rid of your aura. They have get rid of your pips. They have weaknesses. They have, accuracy debuffs. They have healing. They even have a heal. They have a lot of really good stuff in their kit, right? I guess that could go both ways though. They don't have, they have a 25 blade as their main blade, right? They don't have like a 40 blade like Ice's do or something like that, but they give balance a lot of damage, they give balance a lot of resist, they give balance about 7k health, and they give them about decent crit, decent pierce, decent everything, right? Balance, like balance stats. But with Lore Master, crit on me, on my Ice, right? Let's say I have no shields, on my Ice with 60 resist, if a balance occur, crit on me, should do about 1.5 or 2k right away. First round, Lore Master, 2k of my health's already gone, right? I can't aura, I can't do infel, I can't do anything because balance has the power to get rid of that and do about a k damage to you that way. So you can't aura at all. They basically are like trolling you. You can't aura, right? You also can't have too many pips because they can just yoink your pips like that and do lots of damage to you that way. So balance is one of the most frustrating schools ever for max PvP because Gaze of also their shadow pip spells are really good, except the Polaris one. Polaris one's but the other ones are really good. Gaze of Fate, really good. Hands down, Gaze of Fate's awesome. Does 2 hits, and the second hit doesn't depend. It actually goes off your balance damage, so it doesn't create difference of damage. It also changes the bubble. Gaze of Fate's got to be the best. Other than Glowbug, Gaze of Fate for PvP has to be the best Dark Warp spell they released. Honestly, it's the best. Hands down, it's the best. Right? So, would I nerf balance? Honestly, the only thing I would change is Lore Master. Instead of it being 4 pips, make it be 5. Now you may be wondering, why should I do that, right? Because if you stack Lore Masters, you can stack weaknesses and accuracy debuffs on the other wizard with those Lore Masters, right? That's the only thing I would change for balance, though. I would keep everything else the same, like the pips you can keep, the aura you can keep, keep that. But Lore Master needs to be changed from 4 pips to 5, because you can spam Lore Master. If you have max pips, you can spam Lore Master and win. Essentially, just spam the shit out of Lore Master to make you fizzle, right? If you can fizzle or not. And it's one of the things people have been complaining about for a long time. Ever since Age 2 was, level 100 gear came out, people have been complaining about Lore Masters, since then. And nothing has been done about it. Now, do I think King's Isle will change Lore Master? No. They're not going to change it. There's no way they're going to change it, right? The only thing they listened to was Juju, because so many people complained about that. Eventually, they did something about it, right? But if they want to balance, make Lore Master 5 instead of 4. That's it. I think that's a reasonable change. You can't spam Lore Master that much, right? And it'll be more balanced to go against a Lore Master. Because even at low level PvP, people are spamming Lore Master way more frequently down there because it still does an obnoxious amount of damage when enchanted for 4 pips. Okay, so that's all I would change balance. Lore Master. Just change Lore Master, 5 pips, that's it. I don't want a damage, I don't want a nerf for the damage, I don't want a nerf in the debuff it gives or anything. I just want to change the pips, make it 5, it's fair. Alright, that's it though, that's all I'm going to talk about balance. If you're wondering why I'm salty about balance still, it's because my only losses this season were from balances. I've only lost to balances because they're too tough for me to handle sometimes if they're smart, right? Balance is a powerhouse if the right hand is on them, right? So Balance is a really good school for PvP, right? Okay. Second part now. So I talked about all the schools, and I'm gonna say my opinion what schools you should go depending on what you think, like what playstyle you want to go. If you want to solo the game, you want to be alone, and you want to play the game at your own pace, choose Death. That's the easiest school to solo on, 100%. If you want to be a support, Death, Life, Ice. Ice is also really good if you want to just tank everything. Ice is really good with that if you want the most health out of the game, right? For attack, I want to be an attacker. I want to be the one people blade. I want to attack all the time. Storm, Fire, Myth. Or, you know, basically, you know what I mean. I just realized that UMG is going to claim my video once this video goes live. That's fine, though. But yeah, every school has their benefits. Every school has their disbenefits. Every school has special perks. Every school has disadvantages. It depends on what you want to do. What I feel like the worst school in the game is Myth. Sadly, I have to say Myth is the worst school. Because it's the least played school. Right? You don't really see a lot of Myths out there. Myth's the least played school in the game. So I'm hoping they do something with them, make them relevant. I hope they change minions up. I really hope they do. But Myth is not bad at school, but out of all the schools, I feel like Myth's the weakest out of the rest of them. Now, that's not saying that Myth's a bad school. It's still really, really good. But I just feel like if I was making a new account, I would probably skip Myth. Because I see more benefits in other schools than Myth. You know what I mean? Even though they give Myth a lot of damage, I see more benefits in other schools than that, okay? Alright. So we're going to talk about my third part, which is nerfs and buffs to the game and what they need to do to make the game more enjoyable for others. And I actually want to talk about this for a while. I'm actually going to turn off the music for this. I'm actually going to go the Arcanum because this is actually like a really deep topic. Well, not deep topic, but it's like one of those topics that you really want to talk about. It's just one of those topics you're like, yeah, it's sort of like everyone is on edge about and what people complain about. So let's talk about the arcs of the game, right? There's 3 arcs in Wizard 101 that's completed right now. There's no 4th arc yet, probably come out soon, but there's 3 arcs that are out right now. There's Arc 1, Arc 2, and Arc 3. Arc 1 being the Malistaire arc, Arc 2 being the Morganth arc, and Arc 3 being the Raven and Grandfather Spider arc. Now, out of all the arcs, in my opinion, the hardest arc is Arc 2, not Arc 3, and here's the reason why. Arc 1, they didn't really change much. Arc 1 is kind of a joke. Arc 1 was sort of balanced a lot. It's just the last world, Dragonspire being a pain in the ass, the XP is a little low, whatever, right? So that's okay. Arc 1, I wouldn't change anything. Arc 1's fine. I don't even do Arc 1 anymore. I just pop a potion on my wizards, so I didn't have to do Arc 1 anymore after my myth. So, Arc 1's a joke. Alright? Arc 2. Now let's talk about Arc 2. So, the first 2 worlds of Arc 2 are like more like Arc 1. That's why I really don't say that Arc 2 didn't really start until like Avalon with me, personally, right? And the storyline, Arc 2 starts in Celestia, right? But Celestia and Sapphire got nerfed in a summer update 2 years ago. 2 or 3 years, I think it was 3 years ago. But they got nerfed, right? And basically they made the quest easier to complete because Sapphire used to be the hardest world in Arc 2, but they nerfed it to the ground, so Sapphire is really easy now. But the challenge of Arc 2 really starts coming in when you get to Avalon, Azteca, and Chrysalis. Now, the reason why I'm saying that those worlds are the exclamation point hardest is because the gear you have in those worlds is level 60 gear, most likely. The Waterworks gear and House of Scales gear is the best gear basically the game has to offer for you until you get to level 100 really, with some level 90 gear maybe swapping out. But in general, the level 60 gear is the way you want to go till like the level 100 gear kicks in, right? The thing is, at the end of Arc 2, more like toward Chrysalis and Azteca, bosses start coming in with about 20,000 plus health, right? And minions in Chrysalis have almost like about 5,000 health. 5,000, 6,000 health minions, and about 20k health bosses. Okay, so you do Darkmoor, right? And I'm going to do this through like a storyline, right? So now we have Darkmoor, and you're doing Darkmoor, and Darkmoor is not what it used to be. So Darkmoor used to be a 4-hour thing where you would go through 3 dungeons, and the third one being where Malistaire is, and you get the best gear from him. Back then, there was no chest, and you would have to farm him over and over again in order to get the gear, and it was a pain in the ass, because he was actually really tough to kill when you did not have level 100 gear at the time. Now, Darkmoor is sort of a breeze. it still takes about a half hour because it's still a long fight. Um, 3 graveyard is still a long dungeon, but it's a breeze now. Reasons why? They nerfed Darkmoor. And they probably nerfed Darkmoor. They nerfed Darkmoor when Mirage came out, and I'm going to talk about Mirage later, because Mirage got heavily nerfed, and I'm going to talk about that later, right? So, Darkmoor, bosses used to start off with a lot of pips, almost max pips each time. They had the same amount of health, right, as they do now, except for Malastare. Malastare had his health changed, and they used to be more annoying. They used to spam more, and they used to do more stuff that would kill you faster, right? So what happened was the first boss didn't really change much. The first boss was basically the same. They just nerfed how much pips he started with. It was easier that way, right? The second boss, Shane Von Shane, they changed his school from Storm to Star for some odd reason. Don't ask me why they did that. And they also nerfed how much pips he starts with and his health. They nerfed it about 5,000 health, I think, but they nerfed how much pips he started off with. He used to start with max pips all the time, almost max pips all the time. Now he starts off with like 3 or 4 pips, which is, you may think, oh, that's not really enough. That's actually helpful to us because he doesn't kill us. But back then, if you bladed, he would put like a 210 blade on himself right away, which is dangerous. You know what I mean? It was tough back then for Shane, right? Shane was usually the killer of a run because Shane Von Shane was a bitch and everyone hated him. So they nerfed him. Okay, Malastare came around. Malastare had 60k at first at launch, and now he has 30k. He had 100k in Shadow Form, and now he has 60k, right? 70, 60? He has about 60k. I'm just gonna say 60, right? So Malastare is basically the same wise as Strat because he didn't really change much. They just changed his health and starting pips, really. His damage is still the same. He still does his cheat. He still does his dragon hit. He still does a lot of annoying things, but they nerfed him. And I'm going to talk about Arc 3. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Arc 3. Now, watch this, right? So, Arc 2 minions, like I said before, had about 5k health and about 20k health bosses, right? Alright. So we're gonna go to Polaris, right? And I'm gonna show you how they actually made the world easier as you go down the scale, except for Imperia. Mirage was one of those worlds where they just made it easier by accident, but I'm going to show you one instance of a boss in Polaris and show you the difference between the end of Chrysalis, which was the end of Arc 2, to the beginning of Arc 3. And now I know why they did this, right? The reason why they did this was because for players who just got past Chrysalis, they thought that at King's Isle, I can't even find the place I want to go to, they thought it was unfair for players who don't have the gear to be like left behind because they don't have the gear for it and all this stuff, you know? Whatever. Is this the right place? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. So I'm going to show you an instance of a boss. I'm not going to fight the boss because I have no mana, but I'm going to show you the instance of a boss. And I'm going to show you what I mean by health differences, right? And they may be wondering, oh, they have Pierce now. They have, you know, more crit now. They have Shadow Pips now. Why was this a nerf? I'll explain in a second. So this is the first boss you fight in Polaris. This is the first boss you fight in Polaris. And remember, the numbers I said before, at Chrysalis, about 20 plus K health bosses all the time with about 6k health minions. As you can see, I know my overlay is kind of covering it. Let me move that overlay for you guys. As you can see, this boss has 12,500 health, and the minion only has 2,400 health, right? So what does this mean, right? What does this mean? In order to, you know, change what mobs have now and everything, they nerfed the health. And now, people may say that's not a bad thing, right? People may say that they need to do that because it's not fair. But I felt like nerfing the health was actually the bad idea to do. Reason why? Because with the Storm with 140 damage, 100% crit, can easily kill that boss in 2 rounds. Alright? It can easily kill the boss in 2 rounds. You know? Hey, what's up, Puppy? How you doing? I used your balance earlier as an example for my talking about all the schools and whatnot, so you can watch that video later. It's going to be an hour long about. But yeah, so they nerfed the health majorly, right? From Arc 2 to Arc 3 in order to have the new players who just passed Chrysalis, like, by the skin of their teeth, and now are in this world, right? And they nerfed the health bad. And people may say, you shouldn't complain about the health being that low. You know, it's a good thing they did that. It's actually a bad thing. Because I can easily on my Storm wipe out those minions in 1 round with the Tempest. First round, I'm fighting, Tempest dead. Game over, minions dead. Go on to the next one. Meanwhile, the Chrysalis mobs have a little bit more health. I have to blade up a little bit more, and then I can attack. So it's a little bit harder. A little bit wait more time, you know? Now that's Polaris, right? Now, oh, Mirage. Mirage. Story behind Mirage. Mirage in Test Realm was the hardest fucking world I've ever been in. I completed Mirage in Test Realm. And now, let me explain to you why I got pissed what they did about Mirage, right? Mirage basically said if you did not have 100 gear, you're not passing this world. This world basically brought back the elements from Chrysalis's health and just slapped them into the new mechanics for the new mobs and said, here you go, have fun, right? Actually, I'm not going to use those as an example. I'm going to use the Gulchers. So, for instance, the first mobs you fight in the Gulchers had about 5k health. The first mobs you ever fight had about 4 to 5k health, which was a lot, right? Just to jump from Polaris up to here, right? And the bosses had about 30k health per boss. It was tough back then, you know? So let me show you what Gulch's health is now. And they nerfed Mirage 3 times in Test Realm. They nerfed it twice in Test Realm, 1 in Live. This is what they nerfed it to. Gulchers had about 5k health. They nerfed it by half. Okay. Understandable. 5k health is a lot. You know, with minions that are rank 14 and have a lot of attacks and whatnot, right? But the bosses were challenging. They're really hard. Because the first boss had about 30k health and he actually resurrected, you know, her teammates. Like the first boss you fight in this world. And they nerfed her to the ground. She has only like 5k health. So what they did with Mirage is that they nerfed everything. All the minions' health went down a lot. All the bosses' health went down a lot. They nerfed like everything in this world 3 times. And the reason why is because so many people on Twitter complained about the difficulty of the world. Which begs the question, the community who plays this game, do they not like a challenge? Right? Which, I love a challenge. Right? I always love a challenge. You know? And I was kind of upset they nerfed this world 3 times. Alright, I can understand that the health was way too much, and the damage the bosses were doing way too much, and, you know, the stuff was way too hard. I can understand that. Nerf it, you know, some stuff has to get nerfed. But what they did to this world was terrible, right? I basically completed the rest of this world on my Storm by myself. By myself. With no help, until I got to the end. And that's what I'm talking about. So at the end of the world is where the challenge comes in. Of any of these Arc 3 worlds. Polaris, the challenge comes in at the end when you fight Rat. This world, the challenge comes in when you get to the Sands of Time. The bosses actually have health. And in Imperia, the challenge comes in when you fight the midway boss and you fight the end boss. The mid section, like the mid area, and and the end area, right? So, what do I think needs to happen in Arc 4? Obviously, what they're probably going to do is that they're going to make Arc 4 weak as fuck when it first came out, right? Now, what they need to do is make Arc 4 just be better than Arc 3. Just make the first world be a little bit harder than the end of Imperia and just go up from there. Go up in difficulty from there. The reason, if they don't do that, the game is just going to be way too easy. People are going to get bored of the game. They're going to quit. Because if there's no challenge, they can just sit back, press Tempest, everything is dead, and move on to the next fight. You know what I mean? That's boring. My opinion is boring. Now, they did say that they're keeping the challenge locked behind secret bosses, scaled to key bosses, and side dungeons. Okay, fine. But at least put some challenge at the end. Put some challenge in the worlds, right? Imperia Part 2, they did a good job at the end of the world. You know, they didn't put much challenge at the beginning, but at the end they did. They put Storm Titan, he's a bitch. He's a really fun battle. I'm glad they kept it like that. They haven't nerfed him yet. That's another thing I want to talk about. They've nerfed all these bosses, like end bosses, when a new part of a world comes out or a new world comes out. So for instance, Grandfather Spider used to have 100,000 health. Now he has 75k. The brain boss, I can't remember his name, had 125k. He has 105k and he spams Confuse Less. They've nerfed all these bosses before because people or someone's complained about it. And it kind of makes me sad that they even nerfed that the end bosses, of like the only challenge of these worlds at the end, that they nerfed them multiple times or a little bit, you know, all that stuff. So, Medulla, thank you for reminding me. They nerfed Medulla. Now, Medulla was an annoying battle. You'd be in there for a while, but he was fun because if you knew what you were doing and when you killed him, you felt so like good that you killed him. Now, I understand if people don't have good gear because there's a lot of people who don't farm for gear. I understand about that, but I just feel like if there's no challenge in Arc 4, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna hands down quit. There's no point in playing a game that's just a click simulator to win. Like, This level 100 gear is so powerful for the worlds we're in. I bet that people could complete Arc 3 with level 60 gear still on, perfectly fine until they got to the end. Then they'll probably need some help. That's just me though. That's just my opinion. Now don't take what I say seriously, 100%. I do believe that they will make the worlds hard in the future, hopefully, and that the 1/3 dungeon will be a pain in the ass. I hope it is. I really want a hard world to come out. You know what I mean? I want me to stand 5 or 6 hours in a dungeon thinking about what to do to kill a boss. Now, what King's Island needs to do is not listen to one side of the community, right? They need to listen to the other side of the community, the people who want a challenge, the people who really, really want something like to happen about the difficulty of the game. I'm kind of glad they haven't nerfed Azteca or Chrysalis yet, because that's like where the real challenge of the game lies, is in those two worlds. And once you're done with those two worlds, it's easy sailing from here. I have a viewer, Oscar, right, who he's had a little bit of trouble with players, a little bit, but he's completed players already, right? I don't know if he had any trouble with it that much, but he's probably had a breeze through. He probably soloed most of the world because it's not that hard. My Storm is not having a trouble right now. I've died a couple times because, bosses get lucky crits on me and whatnot, but RNG aside, the difficulty needs to change, and that's all I hope. And I think that's all I have to say. Is there any questions in the chat you guys want to say before I end tonight's stream? Anything? Because I gotta upload this video, and oh my god, it's gonna be an hour long. Any questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. Okay, I'm assuming no questions yet. Okay. What is the video about? Oh yeah, you weren't here in the beginning. Basically, I made a video of all the classes, my opinion on them, what they needed to change in each class to make them relevant in certain areas of the game, and basically talk about the balancing of this game. Basically, talk about my opinion on what they need to balance, whatnot. Like Fire needs more spells that are better than Storm, or Storm needs to be a little bit. The percentage needs to be nerfed of like certain spells, of like, you know, of like Wild Bow and Same Bow, stuff like that, etc., etc. And I talked about the balancing of the game, like of the difficulty of the worlds and whatnot, and what they need to do in order to fix that. You came in at basically at the end of my talk. Honestly, I don't think I'm gonna have enough room on my computer to fit this file. To be honest, I'm running out of space on my SD card. Yeah, it's long. It's an hour long. I talked about everything. People who listened, hopefully. But yeah, okay. If you guys have any questions, I'll answer it off screen. I'm gonna stop the recording now. So thank you guys all for coming. If you guys want, you can check out my Twitch channel. I stream every day, most of the time from 3:30 on. Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Carlos13. If you want, check out Puppylove's channel, twitch.tv/Puppylove. She was used as a balance demonstration for this video. Also, if you guys have any other questions, you guys can leave a comment down below if you agree or not. And if you want to follow, subscribe, whatever, go right ahead. Enjoy your day.